Law of divine universal access to make women look like men is a contempt for women and vice, and conversely, law of divine universal access, 33, O people of jinn and men. If you can get out of the domain of the heavens and the earth, then do it. But you can only get out of it with the help of a power, Surah Clement. Any access, scientific or authoritarian or natural influence, can only be reached after an access authority or by the permission of God. For example, the effect of a treatment remains ineffective only by access represented by the interaction of molecules with the patient's human cells. Light also only accesses glass because the composition of this material allows it. Light, on the other hand, has no power of access over iron, even if although the two objects in terms of density of matter are similar. The authoritarian force of the public power reaches the conscience of the people only by the circulation of freedom and transparent, exactly like the power of the light mentioned previously, so that we notice in the squatting countries on each occasion, the lack of success of one policy or another for lack of respect for the aforementioned access law. On the other hand, we find that this law can be granted to divine prophets or even magicians, the latter by manipulating this law. Of course, God does not grant evil in these books, but that is life, evil against good and good against evil. These conquests can happen to scientists as happened to Tesla, who discovered several mathematical equations, laws and scientific mysteries that should have had huge benefits for all of humanity. However, the secret intelligence services undoubtedly concealed these discoveries. There are those who have been authorized by God, even if they are his enemies, going so far as to discover the elixir of life, the restoration of the deceased, the transformation of creations, for example, the Samaritan woman and the Antichrist, etc. Of course, God does not grant evil in these books, but that is life, evil against good and good against evil. We can therefore conclude from this analysis that the law of access can be different from the law of causation, because the law of force does not require violence and coercion to obtain the result. The law of causality can demand violence to achieve the desired result. Access law may not necessarily be the existence of the apparent cause for observers. In other words, the law of causality is limited to what we observe or what we deduce by calculus or by universal law. This is how many of the physicists' questions remained unanswered, because in my opinion, they remained linked to the law of causality in experimental approaches, and no one will dare to cross other dimensions, paths and horizons. Almighty God knows better and wiser.